One of the biggest things I've noticed in basketball that I don't think many people are talking about right now, I think it's going to be an interesting route to see how things go moving forward, is the G League. When I was a little kid, I remember the D League, and I always used it on 2K just because it was something to do when I did the MiLBs. But then they rebranded to the G League, and before we get into the G League and the content of it, look, that's got to be the dumbest name in the history of sports. That's a sellout move by the NBA to name their league. They go from, hey, this is a development league. That makes sense. We're developing players to, oh, shoot. Hey, we the Gatorade League, baby.
Hey, I mean, money talks in the NBA and in sports in general. Plus, the Gatorade partnership has helped the league grow. So, I think it has its benefits. Well, the influx of money and just popularity, not to mention just the simple name of the league, gave it a boost in news. And the league actually started back in 2001. And it was called the National Basketball Development League, and then it got changed to the NBA D League in about 2005, 2006, and then it went to the G League in 2017. But in 2001, it only started with 8 teams, and it was all in the southern region of the United States, Virginia, Georgia, Alabama, down in that area, and it's kind of expanded westward since then. It's grown to the point where there's 29 teams in the G League right now, and 28 of them are NBA affiliates, so they're basically partnered with the NBA. The only 2 NBA teams that don't have a G League team are the Suns and the Blazers, and the one team that doesn't have an NBA team is the G League Ignite team, which was recently made within the last 2 years. It's where Jalen Green played at when he was in the G League. He was the number 2 pick this year, and that's the route for
Kuminga too.
Yep, Kuminga as well, and that's the route for high school players that don't want to play in college, so they don't want to go G League. Get that year outside of high school. That is the requirement to be drafted. So they still are playing professional basketball, and that's the team that they would go to. It's the G League Ignite. So, yeah.
Well, that leads right into what my first bullet point was we're going to hit the G League and the other things I want to talk about later, and more of the actual focus on the developing side. But the whole high school prospects and college guys brings up a whole new ordeal. Like, is this going to be the move going forward for guys? Like, you're 18 years old. Do I want to go sit in a classroom 5 days a week, do homework, and not make any money? Like, yeah, I can get some NIL. Not going to be a contract or anything. Or do I want to go play in the G League, play against guys who have NBA experience and make 6 figures doing so and get invaluable experience? Do you think this is going to be the move going forward? Because we've seen more and more guys make that jump to skipping college and going professional for a year and then going to the National Basketball Association.
I think it's the move, but at the same time, I wonder how much space there is. Like, there's already 29 teams in the league. I don't know how big the league would want to grow. I don't know if it would want to stop at 30 like the NBA is, or if they would want to grow more. But there's only so many roster spots. And you can't, I don't know what the rules really are here, but I think it would kind of break the rules for an NBA affiliate to get somebody out of high school, because that's just not the way it is right now. So right now there's only that one team that they can go to out of high school. But when I was looking at their contracts earlier today, the select contracts are about $125,000 a year for a season. And then like Jalen Green and like the top high school players, the nationally recruited ones, the ones that go to Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, even though I know K-State's not a fan of Kansas, but they get upwards to maybe $500,000 contract. And that's just money talks. Like I said at the beginning with sponsorship deals, money talks. So if there's a 19-year-old and he's like weighing his options, it's kind of hard to turn down $500,000 to play basketball exclusively, compared to going to college and having to do grades and all this other stuff.
Yeah, money talks, like you said. You can get an NIL deal now in college, which is going to help out. But you can also get name, image, and likeness endorsements while you're playing the G League and supplement that salary. It's going to be hard to turn down money. I know as a student, sometimes I'm in class thinking, I don't want to be here. I'm like Eric Bledsoe. I don't want to be here. And there's a reason I'm going to get my degree. For my career, I'm going to need it. To be an NBA player, the degree is not required. Half the guys that go in the first round, it's, okay, I'm going in there, and once the NCAA tournament, it's over and I'm out, I'm not doing any more classes. I'm going to go focus on the NBA. So you're going to school for, what would that be, 8 months? And then you're dipping. So why would you go and just do it for a year because you have to when you could go make money? So I was opposed to the G League at first, that idea, but it's grown on me, especially after watching the Ignite last year. Dylan, you were at a G League game on Sunday.
I was.
Well, what's the atmosphere like at one of those games compared to a National Basketball Association game?
Well, I went to an NBA game, the actual NBA game. I went to the Thunder and Nets game that Sunday night. But that Sunday afternoon, morning, whatever you want to call it, it was about 11 a.m. game. I was able to watch the Santa Cruz Warriors and the OKC Blue, and it was a different experience from a regular NBA game. I really liked it just from a basketball perspective. Seating is far limited. Almost about half I think there's only 4 sections maybe open, all lower level. You can get courtside seats basically for, really cheap. But yeah, it's a really cool experience. It's a really more pure basketball experience. Like, don't get me wrong, they're still a professional team, so they are trying to entertain you and things like that. They have people in the stands that go around, try and get the crowd involved. But the crowd really isn't maybe over 125, 150 people. Like, it's a really, really small crowd. And if you can sit close enough and you pay attention, you can hear the players on the court like talking through their rotations and switches and calling out plays, and you can hear coaches and things of that nature. And while that may not be for everybody, as somebody, me personally, who likes basketball, I thought it was a really, really cool experience, a really unique experience, because I've never been to a G League game before this past Sunday. But it was a really cool experience. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, it's just more of a pure basketball take. There's not as many big names, and a lot of people are fighting for a roster spot, so there's always that competitive edge to it. People play till a whistle or buzzer, whatever you want to say. Even in a blowout, teams are hustling, going around, running around. So yeah, a lot of people are playing for potential jobs, so there's just never a lack of energy in the game. So I really, really enjoyed it.
I think that's one of the unique things about the G League, like you said, is that you're fighting for a roster spot. That makes guys like, you're pushing a little bit more. Like, there's guys in the G League who are on like 2-way contracts, or they're like a Teo Maladon. He knows he's going to be back on the Thunder's roster. Right now he's with the Blue, but he knows he's going to get called back up. I don't think he's too worried about it. But there's guys genuinely fighting for the future of their careers. And it reminds me of, like, it's not NFL training camp, because training camp's different. There's like making cuts and stuff. But the G League reminds me of that. Like, your job is on the line. You got to perform right now. Their eyes are on you. You have a limited amount of time. G League season isn't extremely long to like make your moment and like get your shot. That's why like a lot of like, I watched a video from Chris Gronkowski last week. His brother Glenn played here at K-State, and obviously his brother Rob is an NFL legend. But he's saying like that's why so many fights are reported at training camps, is because guys are fighting for that roster spot. If the guy on your teammate is kind of making you look like a fool with their performance and dominating, that's tensions rise, and you got to do something extra, and that's why fights break out, because there's so much tension and so much on the line. I think that's what can make the G League really special, is guys really trying their hardest, because it's not guaranteed. The next game isn't guaranteed when you're in the G League. There's guys like, Steph Curry. If he goes out tonight, shoots 0 for 20, still going to keep that $40 million a year contract. He's still going to get another opportunity. But for Melvin Frazier, for Xavier Sneed, on the line, you got to perform, and you got to make your mark.
And it's not just playing for a job in the G League, too. I mean, you're fighting for one of the spots at the end of the bench of an actual NBA team as well, with them being affiliates. So they all get called up and sent down in a constant process. One of the surprises of when I went to the G League game, like I said, the OKC Blue was playing the Santa Cruz Warriors. I didn't realize Jordan Bell was on the Warriors G League team. I mean, he was getting rotation minutes in their championship rosters. I mean, he was a force when he knocked out KU in the Elite Eight.
Oh, yeah. We love that moment.
In the Elite Eight.
That
Oregon
Oregon
had
team.
6 or 8 blocks or something like that. He was just all around the place. And even you watch him in the G League game, he was just kind of doing whatever he wanted. He was playing real nonchalant. But at the end of this, at the same time, you could see like he was almost on a leash, because like, you could see the coaches were like, hey, we need you to pick it up. Like, you kind of shouldn't be here. You should probably be up with an actual NBA team. But, I mean, like I said, so it's just a really unique thing, because people are also not trying to get cut by playing well, but people are also trying to earn an actual NBA spot by playing well, too. You look at DJ Wilson, who was on the OKC Blue as well. He was in Milwaukee getting a few rotation minutes here and there, and now he's not, and I don't think he's on the Thunder actual NBA roster. He's just strictly G League right now. And I thought he played really, really good in that Sunday game against the Warriors. But, yeah, not only are they playing not to get cut, they're playing to get an NBA spot.
Before I get to the comparison I was going to make with that, a shout-out DJ Johnson. He's on the Santa Cruz Warriors. That's a K-State alumni. He was a dog in the paint for K-State for so many years. One of the most likable guys to ever put on the purple and silver. And shout-out to him. He grinded. He went overseas, played a while, and now is in the G League and has a chance to be on the Warriors roster. But you talked about guys getting called up and down. And that was one of the notes I wrote down about this show, is I want to make a comparison to, like, minor league baseball. Like, the NFL, they don't have anything like this. Like, yeah, there's practice squad, but it's not the same. You're not playing actual games on the practice squad. But the MLB minor league system, the way they have tiers, obviously NBA, G League, there's only one team. And then there's the G League team. That's it. Minor leagues of MLB, you got like 7 affiliate teams, and you guys just work their way up. But I'm looking at like what Sam Presti's doing right now with the Thunder, and calling guys up and sending them down. Send them down like on a Tuesday and bringing them up for the Wednesday game. They played 2 games in 2 days, and they're getting experience. I look at what the MLB has been doing for decades with that. A guy starting to struggle, you need him to rehab, whatever. Let's go to the G League. Instead of rushing him and only giving him like 4 minutes a game in the NBA, give him about 15, 20 in the G League. Let him really get back on stride, fix whatever he needs to do. And it's the same sense, the MLB uses the minor league system to develop players. If you're an MLB draft pick, you don't see the MLB field until probably 3 years until after you're drafted, unless you're an anomaly like a Bryce Harper or a Juan Soto. You're in the minor leagues for 3 years developing and working your way up against a little bit lesser talent than the MLB until you get to the point where you're ready for MLB play. A little different than NBA. Guys really get drafted and they're NBA ready. But the G League I could see that working in the same way that the minor league system is going. Guys in the front offices taking a risk on players, maybe not that good right now, but they have very high ceilings. Let's let them develop in the G League and work their way up until they're ready for the NBA, and keep calling them up, sending them down if they need something. And I think the NBA is looking at the MLB and trying to mirror a little bit of what the MLB success is with this system.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I don't think it's also just like getting players in their groove from a young stage. I know, like, right now, Serge Ibaka for the Los Angeles Clippers, he assigned himself to the Clippers G League team. That way he could play some minutes and get himself back into shape after having back surgery in the offseason. So the G League could also be a route used for players to come back from injury. I know Pascal Siakam, who was like a G League MVP when he was with the Raptors 905 team back before he became what he is now. But at the start of the season, he was assigned to the 905 Raptors G League team when he was working his way back from injury. So there's that part of it too. It's not just young player development. It can also be injury development. But going back to teams without a G League affiliate and taking risk on players, the main person that almost pops in my head is Anthony Simmons, if any of you are familiar with him. The Blazers don't have a G League affiliate team, so he's been riding their bench for a while now, and he's kind of just now breaking through. I think this is his 3rd or 4th year in the league by now. But if the Blazers had an affiliate team, they could have put him down there and let him grow there instead of having him ride the bench and wait a little bit longer for him to break into a consistent role piece like he is now. So, I mean, just little changes like that could potentially really affect people's careers. And I was looking at the G League stats today. 45% of players on NBA rosters right now have G League experience. The exact number is 224 players out of 497 players have G League experience. Every NBA team has at least 4 former G League players. 20 out of the 30 teams have 7 G League players with experience there. And the Toronto Raptors lead the league with 11 G League experienced players on their roster. Fred VanVleet played for their team. Pascal Siakam is a notable one. But yeah, to the Toronto Raptors, you talked about Sam Presti and calling people up and down. I really think the Toronto Raptors kind of started this trend. Not only do they use it for players, before Dwayne Casey got fired from Toronto, Nick Nurse was the G League head coach for the Raptors 905. And once they fired Dwayne Casey and they opened up their head coach search, they ended up hiring their G League head coach. Same thing happened for the Thunder. Mark Daigneault he was the Thunder G League coach too, and then he's now the OKC Thunder head coach. Like, things like this just happen. Quinn Snyder used to be a G League head coach. Luke Walton has G League coaching experience. Taylor Jenkins has G League coaching experience. Like, those are 5 NBA head coaches right now that worked their way up through the G League. So it's not even just a player development route. It can also be a way for coaches to build off their career. And there's a lot of a notable alumni from the G League. I mentioned Fran VanVleet. I mentioned Pascal Siakam. Chris Middleton is the first G League player to ever be an All-Star. NBA fan favorite Alex Caruso has G League experience. Duncan Robinson, a beloved OKC player, Lou Dort has G League experience. I mentioned Jalen Green earlier. He was the number 2 draft pick, but he played for the G League Ignite. Spencer Dinwiddie, Jeremy Lin, Hassan Whiteside, Danny Green. We talked about Derrick Jones Jr. a few weeks back with the Bulls. He has G League experience. Christian Wood right now, one of the better players on the Rockets, if not the best player on the Rockets. He has G League experience. Seth Curry, Steph Curry's older brother, he has G League experience. One of the best dunkers in the game ever, Gerald Green, he has G League experience. And then, if you know this guy, then you know this guy. But Chris Birdman Anderson also is a player with G League experience. He's one of the first players to get called up from a G League actually in the history of the NBA. So it's just a really useful route that I think is going to keep growing and growing and growing, and I'm really, really excited to see what can happen from it.
One of the things we talked about, player development, young guys, we're seeing that, guys getting called up and down. Thunder are kind of copying what the Raptors did. They're sending Poku down, they're sending Teo down, a lot of guys up and down. There's another avenue, like we said, for injury rehab. But another thing that I think that I know that MLB does a lot with is like position changes. Or a different role change, like they'll send you down, like an older guy, like, we need a different role for you, so here's what we're going to do. We're send you down to our AAA team and let you work on this and focus on this against a little less talent. That way when you come back up, you're ready to go. I look at like what the Royals did with Alex Gordon. He was a top draft pick coming out of Nebraska. He was looking like the future of the third base spot for the Kansas City Royals. Kind of has his struggles a little bit, and they're like, we think we could be really well suited at left field, especially because we know we have this guy named Mike Moustakas in our minor league system, and he's going to be in the hot corner for us. So, Gordo, what we're going to do, we're going to send you down to AAA and let you get some experience in the outfield, and we're going to bring you back up, and we think that could really change your career. And sure enough, it did. Platinum glove after platinum glove, gold glove, World Series title, a couple of American League titles. So that avenue worked for baseball, and I think NBA can do that to help change players' roles. I remember 6 years ago, we were in our freshman year, and they announced it was when Jason Kidd was still the coach of the Bucks. That disaster.
Yeah.
And they announced we're going to put Giannis in like a point guard role, and everybody was like, "What?" Because this was before Giannis was the Giannis we knew, and we were like so confused. And like obviously, it worked out. Giannis is one of the greatest basketball players I've seen in my lifetime, and he's so young. He's going to be a Hall of Famer for sure. But other guys aren't Giannis. Giannis is an anomaly in so many ways. So that could work for like a guy. You want to change his position or give him a different role? Let's send him down to the G League for a little bit and let him figure things out. You want to move a guy from like a 3 to a stretch 4, even like I've seen guys move from like the 3 to a stretch 5. Give them some experience in the G League and let them work their way back to the NBA with that new role.
Yeah, and another really unique thing about the G League that I don't know if MLB minor league teams do this or not, because that's the comparison we've been making a lot lately. I'm almost positive NFL practice squads don't do this. But one of the ways you can get on a G League roster is through a local tryout. And a few years ago, I don't know, I really only think people who really paid attention to the NBA from the 2015 to 2020 timeframe may know who this is, and even then you maybe not know. But Jonathan Simmons, he was a player that tried out for the San Antonio's G League team. He just literally went to a local tryout for the team, made the team, worked his way up through the G League. Then he went to the Spurs. He was an actual contributor for the San Antonio Spurs for a period of time. And from there he went and he actually got paid a decent amount of money. He signed a 3-year, $20 million deal with the Orlando Magic in the summer of 2017 after working his way through the G League. And he went on, and that 2017-2018 season, he averaged 14 points a game with 3.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and started 50 games. All because 4 years prior, he tried out for a local G League team. I think that's a really, really unique story that flies under the radar a lot. I don't think people talk about this guy a lot. He's out of the league now. He's playing over in China at this point in time. but he had a really strong 4-year career where he made millions of dollars through a local G League tryout. And I just think that's a unique story that not a lot of other sports organizations and sports leagues can offer.